So very good day to everybody. Once again, this is using Python in multimedia and gaming machines. And in this class, we discuss about animation. Okay, what are the keyframes, and of course the tweening characteristic in animation. Okay, what are the other techniques that are available? We'll discuss about 2D and 3D animation. Especially in this class, we'll discuss about more about 3D animation, about keyframing. Okay, so this is especially for you, my dear students and young researchers. And you can reach me at dr.christoananth@gmail.com. So before beginning the session, once again let me thank God for giving me this opportunity to deliver this useful session to share my knowledge among my fellow national, international participants, students, and young researchers. Right. So in this class, we will have a short introduction towards tweening. Okay, what are the characteristics of tweening? What is the most important benefit or maybe importance of tweening? Okay, how you will illustrate tweening? Okay, what are the classic tweens and motion tweens? Okay, frame by frame animation, how you'll go for inserting a new keyframe, okay, how you'll change the graphics, okay, and in 3D animation we will discuss about keyframing, okay, what is the keyframed animation, keyframe script, okay, and how you try to work with the micro station file, okay. So I've already given the assignment work for you in the MS. Please complete them as soon as possible. And at regular intervals, I will be giving you some short videos to discuss the knowledge in our topics, right? So this is tweening. Tweening means you are going to create the in-betweens between this and this. Okay. Which are nothing but the images that go between the frames. Okay. For example, if I want to create an animation from here to here, like this. Okay, from here to here. Okay, so that is in between that you are going to create. So this one you can call it as in betweening or betweening. That's nothing but a smooth transition between the two keyframes that is going to have two different points in the action. Okay, so tweening, you are going to convey a sense of fluid movement with still images. Maybe from here to here it should move, means you are going to have a location here, and finally this. Okay. So in betweens are considered less imperative than the keyframes given. Okay. So lead artists, they try to draw these keyframes, while in betweens are handled by the junior artists or the assistants even. Okay. So you will have like drawings between the keyframes that's going to convey the smooth motion. Okay. And of course you are going to make it out by this junior artists or the assistants as well. Okay. So in traditional hand-drawn animation, every single frame is actually drawn by hand. Okay, the final result you may be playing back maybe 24 frames per second, which is nothing but animating on this. Animation is nothing but very simple. You are going to repeat it. Okay, 24 frames per second, 50 frames per second, 60 frames per second. That's how you'll go for. Okay, or it might be played back at 12 frames per second, known as animating on twos. So there is a difference between animating on ones, 24 frames per second, animating on twos, which is nothing but 12 frames per second. Okay. So it's also not uncommon for one project to animate on both ones and maybe both twos for different scenes. Okay. So whether you are utilizing 12 drawings per second or 24 drawings per second, it's much more rare for the head animator to draw every single frame. So everything you need not have to draw. Okay. Instead, the process can be broken into keyframes and in-betweens. So keyframes and in-betweens. Okay. So lead animators also will be illustrating these keyframes that actually defines the look, pose, okay, and other stylish as well as practical considerations as well. So tweening is much more important, but in betweens that is considered less vital than the keyframes. That is the reason you often have tweening that is handed off to junior animators or maybe assistants. Okay. So tweening is an entry level job duty, okay, for many animators, because the main poses or main moments have been defined in the keyframes. But in betweens, we will have a transitional purpose, and of course, it offers less freedom and flexibility for the artists. Okay. So tweening, you can use it in modern technology as well. Okay, for example, if you want to open the door and close the door, so that also you will go for. Okay, so that's how animated projects are made today. Okay, and tweening is no exception. Okay, So many modern animated productions still utilize the traditional tweening practice. Okay. But as and days, months, years, and go on to, okay, we'll use digital animation software that has enabled some productions to automate the tweening process. It has been automated. Okay. So computers also are carrying out this tweening capability using modern animation and maybe editing software. Even if you take in the case of car director or maybe Filmora or maybe any PS, any type of editing software, it has some After Effects. Adobe Press that also has After Effects. Okay. So if you have ever set keyframes, especially for the editing project, especially using software program from the Creative Cloud, maybe you can have like Adobe Premiere, After Effects, Animate. Then it has a automated tweening capability without actually realizing it. Okay. So sometimes what happens, we try to utilize this one, we don't know much knowledge about this one. Okay. So that's automated tweening. Okay. So between two keyframes, the number of in-betweens are needed to carry out a very smooth transition. So modern computers also, maybe with the editing or maybe animation software, can automate this tweening procedure. Definitely, it is also taking a significant amount of work of your plating. So you have to work much in order to come up with this tweening. So this is the illustration of tweening. Even like artificial intelligence also can be used to generate the in-betweens, though automation is not always perfect. So sometimes manually if you do work, that will have a better characteristic. Okay, so here if you can see several layers, okay, so that layers you can check, okay, this frame, this amount of time, and after that this one. Okay, for example, if you have to appear frame like okay, so this one have to appear like 2 seconds. The next one, this one 2 seconds. So this is how for us it will be looking like this. Even for example, light if you see, okay, it will go like a train it will go. So how it goes? So it's nothing but the seconds, amount of seconds it is actually displaying. Okay, so that is how. So this is tweening in the Adobe Animate. So Adobe Animate, you can actually automate the tweening process, okay? So that you can create tweens based on the variety of variables, and of course you can accommodate several animation styles. Okay, so you can use tweens in Animate in order to move the objects, okay, along the 2D X coordinate as well as 2D Y coordinate, or maybe you can make the 3D object rotate along the Z axis and so on. Okay, so characters, objects that you can move with the smoothness of this flash animation, or maybe flickering blur of the classic animation. So flickering also you will go for, or smoothness also you will go for. Okay. So you can actually morph the object, you can stretch the object, you can link with one another. So that's how you can use it in the Adobe Animate. Okay. So there are two types of tweens. One is classic tween and then motion tween. Okay. So classic tween, you can use it in the traditional video based animation, but motion tween you can use it in the interactive animation like maybe games, motion graphics. You can go with the motion tween. Okay, for example, PUBG, some guys are walking, okay, then shooting, then okay, so this is a motion tweens. Okay, so repeating some characteristics. Okay, so with both classic as well as motion tweens, you can add different types of transition from one part to another part, okay, to intermediate frames, maybe position, rotation, scaling, color, filter that you can go for. So you can modify your transitions with easing. That is how you try to modify your motion or maybe your action. So animate, you can give get an exact control, okay, about how you try to create your tweens. Okay, so every frame is actually numbered. Okay, so you know exactly where you are actually making the changes and how long the transitions will last, and where the first frame will come, where the last frame of that transition will come, that you will know. Okay, so that changes only will be like linear, will be slow, or maybe it might be fast. Okay, so they can also ramp up or maybe ramp down a transition, and maybe you can conform to the parameters. Okay, for example, this frame, okay, it is so boring, then immediately you can fast forward. Okay, or you can go slow also, maybe if you want to show something. Okay, so tweens like other elements in the Adobe Creative Cloud, okay, are much more easier to move from one animation app to another. Okay, which means that you can save the tweens as presets for reuse, and maybe you can mix and match already existing animation assets, especially for future projects. Okay. So frame by frame animation is a technique that you can utilize for creating the illusion of the movement by making incremental changes between every keyframe. So frame by frame animation, it's much more similar to the traditional hand-drawn cell animation where every drawing is on a separate sheet of paper. So everything you make it out. Okay, so it's much more tedious, but definitely the results can be creative enough. Okay, so frame by frame animations also will be increasing your file size also much more rapidly. It will increase because animate has to store the contents of each of the keyframe. Okay, so use the frame by frame animation much more rarely enough. Okay, so that is how you are going with next part. Okay, so you'll try to insert the frame by frame animation inside the car left movie clip that I will be showing you. Okay, to make it move up and down. Okay, and when the movie clip is going to loop, okay, the car will rumble, okay, to simulate the idle of the motor. Okay, so that's how it goes. Okay, so this is the keyframe. Okay, this is the car right. Okay, so the frame by frame animation in the car middle as well as car right movie clip symbols has already been done. Okay, which means that you will finish the symbol for the car left symbol as well. Okay, so this is how you'll go with the small rumble. Okay, and this is the lights. So light will be there and car rumble, it will be like a motor, that effect we are actually creating. Okay, so this is for the car left. Okay, so in the library panel, maybe double click in the car right movie clip symbol. Okay, to examine its completed frame by frame animation inside the car right movie clip. Okay, so there are three keyframes that are established, which establish the three different positions of the car and the headlight. Okay, so keyframes are spaced unevenly in order to go for the unpredictable up and down motion. Okay, so that is not very uniform. Sometimes it will go maybe high and maybe small. So that unevenness you can establish. Okay. So in the library panel, double click on the car left movie clip symbol. Okay, and you can now go for entering the symbol editing mode for the car left symbol. Okay. So select frame 2 in both the light layer, okay, and small rumble layer, and choose the insert keyframe, or maybe you press the F6. Okay, so that is going to insert a keyframe in the frame 2. Okay, of the light layer and small rumble layer. So the contents of the previous frames are actually copied into the new keyframe. So that is how small rumble and some motor will be rotating. So you can go for in the new keyframe as well. You can change the appearance of the contents to actually change the animation. And maybe in frame 2, you can select all the three graphics. Okay, the car, the two headlights. Okay, on the stage. Edit, select all. Okay, or maybe Control A. Okay, and move them down the stage by 1 pixel. So that is how you are going to have the effect. So use the properties panel, okay, to decrease the Y position value by 1 pixel, or maybe press the down arrow key to nudge the graphics by 1 pixel. Okay, so the car and the headlights will move down slightly. Okay, because when we are creating effect, similarly when the car moves down, similarly the light also should move down. Okay, when you are moving down, the car light should not be like this. It should also move down. Okay, so repeat the process of inserting the keyframes and changing the graphics. And for a random motion like idling car, you can use at least 3 keyframes. That's actually ideal. Okay. So select frame 4 in both the lights layer and of course small rumble layer. Choose insert keyframe or maybe F6. So that's how you are inserting the keyframes in the frame 4 of the light as well as small rumble layers. So the contents of the previous keyframes are actually copied into the new keyframes. And once again you repeat the same procedure. Select all or maybe edit select all. Okay, to move them up the stage by 2 pixels. Okay. Similarly, you can use the properties panel as well, or maybe you can move up arrow key, okay, twice to nudge the graphics by 2 pixels. So we went down, then again we went up. So that's what you are moving. Okay. So the car and the headlights move up slightly. So you now have 3 keyframes for both layers inside the movie clip. Okay, so this is what you'll go. Okay, so 3 layers it will be having, and you can navigate quickly between multiple keyframes by control step forward, okay, to next keyframe by pressing alt option plus. Okay, or maybe you will go with control step backward if you have to go for the previous keyframe. Okay, right. So you can also click the forward pointing or maybe backward pointing arrow. Okay, so this one, forward pointing, backward pointing arrow. Okay, to the left of the playback controls. Okay, at the top of the timeline panel to move to the next or maybe previous keyframe. Okay, you can test the idling motion as well by enabling the loop option at the top of the timeline panel, and maybe you can click on the play. Okay, so that will be looping into. Okay, and maybe if you have to preview the entire animation, maybe control and then test, so that will be giving a preview of what you have practiced. So this is the 3D animation I'm talking about. Box at the beginning, box at the end, in between tweening. So in the animation, if you can see, it will go like this. Okay, right. So this is the keyframing. It's the most simplest form of animating an object. So based on the notion that the object has a beginning state or condition and will be changing over time. Maybe in time it will change, position it will change, like this it will like this might also it might change, color it might change, even in the thing we saw. Okay, from yellow changing to blue color, from blue maybe green color. Okay, luminosity or any other property even. Okay, so keyframing, you can go for showing the several keyframes or maybe conditions that you will go for describing the transformation of the object. Okay, so you can go with the intermediate positions as well. Okay, so the condition at the top you can call this the starting position of the motion, and this one you can label as the box at beginning. Okay, so this is the box at beginning. Okay, and condition will be having the final portion of the box that you will have box at end. So this is box at beginning, this is box at end. Okay, so all of the intermediate stages, okay, of the box motion from point A to point B can be calculated by breaking the distance travel into the number of frames. So maybe you will have five frames, 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so each intermediate frame then moves the box by some resultant distance. Okay, so maybe you'll have 5-point distance or maybe 2-point distance that you'll have. So the process of figuring out the frames in between the two keyframes, you can call it as the in-betweening or maybe tweening. Okay, so that you will be having the keyframe animation. Okay, so there are some examples as well, like door opening, door closing, or maybe shock observer, like for example compressing, decompressing. Okay, that also you will have the keyframing effect. Okay, so that for example if you have a shock observer, that you can explicitly establish in the 3D space. Okay, so virtually any property of an object can be keyed at a given condition and may be changed to a different condition through the process of keyframing. Okay, so maybe you'll have compressing, expanding, so that also you can express in the z direction. Okay, so this is what you are going to animate in the micro station. Okay, in the micro station there are two parts. Okay, in the animation producer, maybe under utilities, rendering menu, so you will have the keyframes dialog box. You can create, you can capture, you can go with the setting up of keyframe conditions and you can name them. Okay, so any number of keyframe conditions can be captured, you can record it. Okay, whether or not it will be used, and you can capture the order, so that you can set into. Okay, so keyframes box will be having a library of all the sorts that you can store it for any animation condition. Okay, so in the keyframes box itself does not serve to organize or maybe play back these conditions in any sequence, so you can actually store and you can practice. So this is how you are going to create the animation. Maybe you have to write the script. So the script will be instructing which keyframe to occur, what sequence it should occur. Okay, and at what frame it should occur. So first of all, the keyframe to occur, what order, what sequence, and at what time. Okay, what frame it should occur. Okay, so the script you can edit it anytime, you can edit it. Okay, so that's the central and primary vehicle of the control in describing any course of action. For example, playing also, recording also, that is you can have the animation. For example, this one, a doll. Okay, you can make it like you can make it. Okay, so at what time it should start, what time it should stop. Okay, so how much time it should repeat, so everything it should have. Okay, so this is the animation producer, animation keyframes. Okay, so animation producer, you can have the keyframe up, down. Okay, and you can have a preview. Okay, so left, left side, right side, you can freeze, you can stop. Okay, keyframes also up and down you can freeze. Okay, so everywhere if you can see, it is pointing to the script file. Okay, so it's editable. Okay, so you can start the microstation, turn on the microstation link, and of course you can try it with your own microstation file even. Okay, so when you try to script a keyframe in the microstation, maybe you will have an option. You can set the motion, okay, rate of motion that the object will be taking into the current scripted frame. Okay, so the object does not have to move at a constant rate at all the times. Okay, so if it does means, then definitely it will look like unrealistic. So unevenly you should keep, okay, not evenly. So if this is vibrating like tick, 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 it doesn't look realistic, so you should make it uneven. Like this you should make into, so that is how you are making it realistic, visualistic. Okay, so objects through this property can actually accelerate, decelerate, and maybe you can have a combination. So you can try this one, you can understand the relationship between several options. So this is the independent work for you: game loop and real-time simulation, human interface devices. So you can practice them. You can like have a short introduction, okay, have some short description about this one, then how you work with the software, game editing software, or maybe animation, so that you can practice. Okay, and you can have some snapshots, and of course have a conclusion. Okay, so this is how you try to submit them in the HIMSS as soon as possible.